Good evening and welcome to the Peoria Heights Candidate Forum. I would like to acknowledge that Peoria Heights Chamber of Commerce is co-sponsoring this meeting with the League of Women Voters of Greater Peoria, and thank you, candidates, for taking your seats. I'll be short, but the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We have approximately 30% of our membership is male. We just keep our name, League of Women Voters. Tonight, we will have a standard format of candidate forum, except that we were asked, and we like the idea of allowing an uncontested person to be speaking tonight who's on the ballot, and that would be Stephanie Turner, who's running for clerk. Tonight, our moderator is Irene Pritzker, who is a past president of our league. I think I said I'm Cheryl Budzinski, but I don't know if I did or not. We also have a board member who is from Peoria Heights, who is here tonight. That would be Gary Stella. He's been on our board for quite a while. We also have Rob Parks, who co-chairs voter service for our league. And we would invite you to join the league. The league is open to all citizens starting at 16 years of age, and we would welcome all new members. So, Irene, would you like to bring the rules?
Okay, I do want to apologize if I end up losing my voice. We may end up having to make a quick switch. Hopefully we won't have to. First of all, we only accept questions from the floor that are written, and we have people, Rob is over here, Connie is over there. They have 3x5 cards that you can write your questions on. They will go over the questions to make sure that they are relevant and not repetitive, because, you know, great minds think alike, and a lot of you end up with the same questions. So they'll go through that. So you may not hear word for word the question that you asked, but you'll get, at least you should be able to get the gist of it, and hopefully we have enough time to go through all of your questions. But they must be written. We do not do town hall, so that the focus is on the candidates. We're going to start first with Stephanie Turner, who is running for village clerk, and she has 2 minutes to talk to you about her desires, I guess, for the office. She will have 2 minutes, and I want all of the candidates to be aware. In the front row, we have our timers, and they have signs that will tell you when you still have 1 minute to go, 30 seconds to go, 15 seconds to go, and when the stop sign comes up, if you want to keep going, I will cut you off. So I taught 7th grade. I know how to do that. So I would like to start by inviting Stephanie Turner to speak for 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you. My name is Stephanie Turner. I am running for village clerk. I have lived in Peoria Heights for 10 years now. I have worked here at the village for 9 of those years. I've worked in 2 different positions. I've worked upstairs in administration as the administrative secretary, helping with the day-to-day operations of the village, and for the last 7 years, I have worked as the bookkeeper for the village, as well as the trustee in the last couple, or treasurer in the last couple of years. In that time, I have learned a lot about the village, and that's essentially why I'm running for village clerk. I think that with my background knowledge of what goes on here at the village, I know it would be helpful to have the clerk here in-house. We don't necessarily have enough work that the clerk would be a full-time position, but there are things that come up day to day where it would be easier for administration to run downstairs and check in with me than if the clerk was off-site. I have really enjoyed my time here in Peoria Heights. I grew up in a small town. I know what small town living is like, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut it off there and let the candidates speak.
Thank you. Okay, and you guys are all very well trained, because we definitely do not want interruptions during the questioning with applause or whatever. We'll save that for the end. But thank you very much, Stephanie, and good luck to you. Okay, we're going to start. Before we started, we drew lots to see who would go first, and they will give their opening remarks in that order, and then whoever was first on the opening remarks, that person will be last on the first question, and the second person will be first, and we'll keep changing so a different person is the first one to answer the question as we go down the questions. Okay, so for opening remarks, the candidates have 2 minutes. So we'll start with Sarah DeVore.
Thank you. My name is Sarah DeVore. My maiden name is Hutchison, for those of you who do not know that. I was born and raised here in Peoria Heights. I went to Kelly Avenue Grade School, kindergarten through 8th grade. I graduated in the top of my class at Peoria Heights High School. When I got married, my husband and I decided to move back here. This is a great community. We really wanted to set our roots down here. I am a member of the zoning board currently, and I also own a small business here in town. Since this new administration has taken office and I have, owned my home here, it's been really important to me to give back to my community. That's why I'm running. I think our neighborhoods are the sole purpose of how we became Peoria Heights, and so my stance is to continue to help grow that. I want to see our neighborhoods be very thriving and to continue to grow and to support all the growth that we're going with today. Thank you.
Okay, next is Tessie Bucklar.
Hi, my name is Tessie Buckler. I'm running for village trustee. I grew up in Peoria Heights and have lived most of my life here. My involvement in the Heights government started in 1999 when I first served on the zoning board. I served on the board then for 5 years, with 4 of those being as a board secretary. A year and a half ago, I joined the zoning board again. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with this board in a very short amount of time. Because of the unprecedented growth that's happening right now in the Heights, the zoning board recognized that we needed to update our zoning code to ensure that any new development along Prospect would retain the charm of our historic downtown. I worked on a team to help educate community stakeholders and village trustees about our proposed zoning changes and why they were needed. We saw something that needed to be done. We did our homework. We brought others into the process, and we got the new zoning overlay district approved unanimously. That's the kind of initiative and energy that I want to bring to the Board of Trustees. The growth and development that's happening now is exciting, and it's a great opportunity for our community, but we have to make sure that the growth is sustainable and that the development is smart, that it meets our needs not only for today, but also sets us up for future success, that it will encourage new families and businesses to relocate to the Heights, but it will also improve the quality of life for the people that have always lived here. If I'm elected to the Board of Trustees, I will do my best to balance both the new and the old in Peoria Heights, to balance the interests of all residents with the need to grow our tax base so that we keep the village financially sound without raising taxes or imposing more fees. I promise to listen to residents, to ask questions, to do research, and to do my best to make the most informed decisions possible. I promise to be engaged and proactive and will work hard to make Peoria Heights the best place to live and do business in Central Illinois.
Okay. Next is Brandon Weisenberg.
Hi, my name's Brandon. My family moved to the village when I was 8 years old. I met my wife a few doors down from where we grew up. We're now raising a young family here in the Heights. We have 2 boys, 1 girl. All my children attend public school here in the village. I'm locally involved, volunteering as a coach for the Peoria Heights House League program. The reason I decided to run for trustee is to give back to the community that I grew up in. I want to work to ensure that my children and our residents' children continue to have a great community to grow up in. If elected as your trustee, I will work To avoid the new code word for tax fees, I will increase transparency, support sensible economic development, and work with the Park District, the board, and the mayor on bringing family-friendly venues to our community. Thanks for coming out tonight, and thank you for your time.
Okay. Next is Deb Reichert.
Hi, my name's Deb Reichert. I am a third-generation Heights resident, and I've lived here my entire life. I raised my family here, and now I have grandchildren here as well. My day job, I work at Komatsu, and I've been there for a number of years. This last year on the board has been one of the most challenging that we've ever faced with the deficit that we had in the budget. And I think I speak for all of the trustees when I say that we didn't always agree, but we all felt we were doing the best thing for Peoria Heights. And this is all of our homes, and ultimately we want to serve the public and do the best that we can for the public. So I thank you all for coming out tonight.
Okay. Next is Brian Harn.
Hi. My name's Brian Harn. I've been on the village board for 18 years. My family moved to Peoria Heights back in the 60s. Not sure exactly what year it was. I went to Kelly Avenue Grade School and then Peoria Heights High School. I've been married to my wife Esther for 27 years. We have one son, Justin, and he went to Kelly Grade School, then Peoria Heights Grade School, then Peoria Heights High School. I own a small excavating company in Peoria Heights. I've been in business since 1988. For 18 years, I've been proud to serve as a trustee for the Village of Peoria Heights. I was appointed for the first 2 years and then elected 4 times after that. I've always made it a priority to be accessible to anyone that has tried to reach me. I've always had the administrator and the girls, if anyone ever wants to talk to me, I just tell them, just give them my cell number. I've always been there for everybody. And Debbie's right, you know, we started out the beginning of last year, 700,000 in the red, and by the time we got it done, with limited amount of fees that we've had to assess, like for garbage and a little bit of sales tax raise here and there, and then with strong growth, we're actually going to be with a surplus for this year. And so if I get reelected, I want to keep the budget close, and just like we always have, and start putting money back again. We have roads we need to rebuild. We need to rebuild Prospect Road. For years and years, we used to do curb and sidewalk programs. We would do $60,000 a year in curb and sidewalks. And the money kind of started to slow down, so we had to switch to a program of we're just fixing what is in dire straits, what has to be repaired. I've always enjoyed being on the board, and I hope to be reelected. Thank you.
Next is Beth Kazam.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Beth Kazam. I am a resident of Peoria Heights for the last 18 years and was born and raised in Peoria. My husband and I chose Peoria Heights to move back to with our 3 children 18 years ago because of the charm and the walkability and the immense sense of community here in Peoria Heights. I'm a member of the Boys and Girls Club. I've been a past member of the Zoo Board. I was on the school board for my children's school for 3 years. For the last 12 years, my husband and I have been rehabilitating Junction City, and through that, we have had a lot of experience working both with the Park District, with the Keller Branch Corridor Association that I'm a member of, and helped set up the Rail to Trail that we all enjoy now as the trail, the Greenway. I'm also on the zoning board and have been for the last year, and have truly enjoyed my time there and learned a tremendous amount about Peoria Heights. As Tessie stated earlier, we have a lot going on in Peoria Heights right now, and I really want to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of it and represent every one of my constituents here in Peoria Heights, and that's me.
Okay. Excuse me, thank you. Next is Bob Travers.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank those of you who are providing the opportunity for us to come before the public this evening to promote our candidacy. My name is Bob Travers, and I reside at 1516 East Glen. I guess being the old guy up here, I'll promote myself as being the candidate of age and wisdom. I've been a lifelong resident of the area. Graduated from Richwoods High School and Illinois State University, and for the past 33 years I've resided here in the Heights. I've been married to my wife Kathleen for 38 years, and together we raised our 3 children here. I'm a member of St. Thomas Catholic Parish, and I served for approximately 25 years as chairman of the Peoria Heights Planning Commission. In 2018, I sold my small business, Central Illinois Countertops, which for a time was located here in the village, and I retired. I now feel that I've got the time to devote to giving back to my community. In these last 33 years, I've seen quite a number of changes and progress here in the Heights, but nothing compared to what's going on right now. This is truly an exciting time for the village, and we need to seize the opportunities that are being afforded to us. The biggest issue facing our municipality, as well as every other level of government today, is how to maintain the current service levels that we provide while also maintaining a balanced budget in the face of ever-increasing costs. I strongly support the direction that the current administration of Mayor Phelan and Chief Sutton has taken in getting our fiscal house in order. I'm fiscally conservative and view a balanced budget as more than a goal, but a mandatory necessity. I see my time is about up. While it's not possible for me to comment on how I would vote on any specific issue until such time that it comes before the board, I will say that I will always be reluctant to support increases in taxes or fees until they're absolutely necessary. In addition, I support maintaining funding levels for our police and fire departments, which are second to none. I ask for your support and your vote.
Okay, thank you.
Boy, I timed that right.
Time is up. You timed it well. Okay. Now, I will be reading from your questions, assuming, and I hope you all wrote legibly. So we will, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer a question. And we will start with Tessie Buckler and then follow around the same order. Okay, this is, let's see, Peoria Heights extends past the Prospect Corridor. What plans, goal do you have for Peoria Heights south of Lake Street? Tessie?
Well, I think part of what we're working on with the zoning board is actually extending the business district that we have in the blocks of Prospect that go south of Glen all the way down to Kelly. With some of the new development and some of the changes that we've made in the zoning board, we're preparing for that development to increase all the way down to Lake Street. I would like to see further development go beyond that, south of Lake. I mean, there are some issues that it's not quite the same. There are some residential properties there that will make it a little bit different than the area that's north of Lake Street right now, that's a little bit ready for commercial development. But I would like to see that continue. I don't have an exact plan in mind, but I know right now what we're focusing is on the area that is south of Kelly, developing that down to Lake Street. And like I said, with the changes we made on the zoning board, we've ensured that it's going to be walkable, it's going to look like, if there's new development, that it will look like that the part of the Heights that is successful now that we all know and love, the blocks of Prospect south of Glen.
Okay. Brandon Weisenberg, do you need me to read the question again?
No.
Okay.
So what I would like to see south of Lake is that we develop that area with respect to the residential customers, because it does impact them the most. I have no specific plan in mind either, but I would like any new development to also be walkable and affordable. A lot of our Heights, a lot of the development thus far is out of reach for your typical Heights resident. So as we develop south of Lake, I would really like to just keep a focus on our constituents and any tax investments or any incentives that we give to businesses to come to the area. Understand that place is a burden on our residents, and the development should be within their reach.
Okay, Deb Reichert, do you need me to read it?
No.
If you ever need me to reread it, just let me know. Okay.
Okay. So we did approve the overlay district that the zoning board brought to us. So that's going to aid us in any development that is done in that southern part of Prospect. Hopefully with what Kim Blickenstaff is bringing to the table with the Gray Boy building and Save-A-Lot. And then we can continue, hopefully, we'll get a lot of people to get involved, and we can continue that southerly route down Prospect and make it walkable and accessible to the citizens.
Brian Harn?
Okay, south of Lake Street, first thing that comes to my mind is War Memorial Drive. I would like to see a large gas station go down there, something that would sell diesel fuel. Gas stations contribute to our MFT funds, and that's where you get your money to build your roads and your engineering for your roads. Also, a fast food restaurant down on War Memorial Drive would be great also. We operate on sales tax, and you wouldn't believe how much McDonald's contributes to what the village does. So that's two quick ideas that I have for, but I mean, obviously, it'd be great. I'm not a developer, but, so anyway, I would like to see that.
Okay, Beth?
Well, as Tessie and Deb mentioned previously, for the last year on the zoning board, we've been working very diligently to create an overlay district here a little bit north of what the area that you're talking about right now. And I think that will act as a pilot program for plans going south of War Memorial. We are truly blessed right now in Peoria Heights. There's a tremendous amount of activity, and with Kim Blickenstaff, who I classify as an angel investor, I think you're seeing a lot of excitement in the Gray Boy building. He plans to do, I think, a mixed-use building there, and so it will continue the walking corridor from Glen and Prospect, hopefully all the way through the restaurant area and past War Memorial. I think we face a little bit of a challenge at War Memorial because the businesses are a little bit different in that area, and obviously the traffic flowing through War Memorial is, higher. They travel at higher speeds and things like that. But I believe with very careful planning, which is happening already on the zoning board, we can continue a walkable community, which is what everybody loves about the village, and we'll be successful in doing that.
Okay. Bob Travers?
Do me a favor, reread the question one more time.
Peoria Heights extends past the Prospect corridor. What plans, goal do you have for Peoria Heights south of Lake Street?
Okay. Most of what I envision south of Lake Street is residential, and I wouldn't want to see anybody moving in there and developing that. The only thing I can say is for those people, possibly, I don't know what condition your sidewalks and things are in, but I think possibly they look for some funds to replace sidewalks and things like that. As far as War Memorial Drive, the project that is just west of, what would be Gebby's there, I guess. There's a couple of small strip malls along there that there's room for one more. I'd like to see that maybe get completed. It looks a little unfinished right now. And beyond that, that's about it.
Sarah DeVore?
I've also worked with Tessie and Beth on the overlay district that we have been established for the village. I would like to see that extended. I also would like to see an overlay district of something different to be put on the War Memorial corridor, for the fact that that is a different kind of area. We have a different kind of businesses there, and it's not as walkable as our Prospect corridor. I do think it'd be great to extend past Lake. I don't want to lose the residential houses that we have, but I think that there are some things with the businesses that are there that could be improved, as well as making the sidewalks a little larger. We're talking about Prospect and War Memorial, but I don't want to forget Below the Hill either. Below the Hill has a lot of opportunity for growth, and I would really like to see some growth happen below the hill in some of the vacant space that we have there as well.
Okay, I'm going to combine two questions that they also link with the one you just answered. One is, what specific ideas do you have to enhance and enrich the neighborhoods of the Heights, and what is your vision for community and development? So we're talking about community development and the neighborhoods. And we start with Brandon Weisenberg.
Some of my visions for revitalizing our neighborhoods is bringing some family attractions to the Heights. A lot of our surrounding communities, Chillicothe and Washington, have splash parks, which are really an attractive feature for families with young children. So I would like to work with the Park District and work towards bringing some venues to the Heights that attracts families. If you're an adult in Peoria Heights, there's quite the nightlife in Peoria Heights. You'd be hard pressed to find something not to do, but if you're a child in the Heights, it's a bit lacking. So I would work on bringing those venues to the Heights, maybe working with the mayor and on any grants or anything we could do to revitalize the neighborhoods. I know through the EDC there are some grants that businesses can apply for. So I would open those grants to residential neighborhoods so that we can start working on beautifying our residential neighborhoods.
Okay, Deb Reichert?
So I would like to see, as Brian mentioned, we are going to end the year with a surplus, and that's going to give us an opportunity to resurrect our curb and sidewalk program. I would like to see every street in Peoria Heights at least have a curb. It's not feasible for everybody to have a sidewalk, but everybody should have a curb. And I'd like to see us address some of the drainage issues that some of our Heights residents suffer with. That's just a couple of my ideas for the residential part of it. As far as making us more family-oriented, I think the village itself has done a couple of programs where we did the trunk or treat last Halloween. That was very successful, and that was very family-oriented. The movies in the park has been very family-oriented. We're planning an Easter egg hunt this year up here at Tower Park. So all those events will bring in families, and hopefully they'll want to stay.
Okay, Brian Harn?
Okay, we have a lot of parks in the village, and there's a few parks that could use a little bit more money put into them. The one on Marietta and Columbus, right now it's just some playground equipment. I know we've been kind of hesitating on that a little bit because we're not sure what the future might be for that field. But like Debbie said, we have a lot of things going for communities right now. We have the movie nights, and we have you know, again, you keep fixing your roads, your sidewalks, put storm drains in where they're needed. We have code enforcement officers that go around and make sure people keep their properties cleaned up and picked up nice. As far as the village, like going out and handing money out, you can only do so much of that to improve neighborhoods, because the next thing you know, you need to tax more to do that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there, but that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Beth, I've been asked if you could speak closer to your microphone, and you are next.
Also, do you mind repeating the question?
Right, it was, I combined two, tied in with the first one. What specific ideas do you have to enhance and enrich the neighborhoods of the Heights, and what is your vision for community and development?
Well, first of all, I think that the Heights has done a tremendous job already combining family and lifestyle and walkability and attention to children already in this community. That's why we chose this community 18 years ago to move to. In the last 4 years, they've made amazing strides in promoting opportunities for children. They've mentioned already the movies, the Easter egg hunt, trunk or treat, these types of things. So we're already, creating a wonderful sense of community. My vision for the Heights is to really embrace the development that's happening right now. Again, I'll mention Mr. Blickenstaff. We have Katie Kim with her development on Samuel, Larry Herman with his apartments, and I think that there's a tremendous amount of energy in the Heights right now, and we just need to embrace that and really work toward strengthening what already exists, which is a tremendous sense of community. Infrastructure obviously is important as well, and the budget was balanced with a surplus this year, as has been previously mentioned, so we will be able to put some money toward projects in the future.
Okay. Bob Travers?
Do I need to use the microphone, or can you hear me?
Use the mic.
I guess I would promote family-friendly activities, things that take place up here at the park right here. There's a watch program that I have not attended yet, but I would like to get involved in that and see what is involved there as far as safety issues and things. I would promote getting out and just meeting your neighbors. How many of us come home at night, punch the garage door button, pull in, and you never see your neighbors? You need to get out and meet your neighbors. Maybe promote having neighborhood groups to get together. I have pretty strong reservations about the Samuel project and redevelopment of the older neighborhoods in that manner. I don't see any continuity going on there. Growth and change for the sake of growth and change isn't always positive. I think we need to take a long, hard look when people come in and want to do these things, and make sure that the new fits in with the old. That's about all.
Okay. Sarah DeVore?
As far as community involvement, I think that one thing I would push for is for the Board of Trustees and the Peoria Chamber of Commerce to continue to build ideas together like they're doing with the Easter egg hunt and trunk or treat and things like that. I've had other citizens of the village approach me about doing something with like the Christmas season and holiday, and I just think getting those community activities out would be very beneficial for us to meet our neighbor, to be more involved with each other. As far as how I would do development inside the neighborhoods, I think that I would try to push for more for the community to know. So I do know that there's a program right now for a grant if you were to update your home to 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And I didn't find out about that until I came here and asked questions. And so for me, I think that when we have those grants available, it's important to share that with our residents so that they have the ability to make some upgrades to their home.
Okay. Tessie Buckler?
I guess I'm going to kind of combine these two together, the enhancing the neighborhoods and vision for community development, because I think some of the things that have been said kind of go to both of those. One of the things that Bob brought up that I agree with is neighborhood groups. I think if we had more neighborhood groups throughout Peoria Heights, that could encourage things like just cleaning up the neighborhood, helping others out, maybe elderly people, watching out for them, also having block parties, things like that will actually encourage greater sense of community and pride in your neighborhood, which will go a long way to enhancing neighborhoods. Also along those lines, we are in the Heights, we have we don't have as much mid-range housing as we need. We need to find a way to develop the current housing that we have, make renovations, add on to them, like Sarah was saying, so that we can encourage new middle-income families to come in that will make our schools stronger and enhance our neighborhoods. My husband and I did that when we moved back to Peoria from Chicago, and we bought my old childhood home, and we took it from a lower on the range, put a lot of money into it, renovated it, and now it's a mid-range house that we sold to another young family that came into Peoria Heights. So if we could find a way to encourage people to do something like that, so not only we're not just looking at building new housing, but actually improving what we have here.
Okay. Next question, and we will be starting with Deb Reichert. Since we are sales tax dependent, what are your ideas for increased revenue? Deb?
Well, that's a tough one. We do. If you notice on your tax bills, a very small portion of that tax bill actually comes to the village. So we do. We depend on the sales tax dollars to fund the public works, the fire department, the police department, and all the village employees. And that's not cheap. It comes at a price. You want services, you got to pay for them. So I would just like to continue to cautiously encourage businesses to come here and do business so that we can continue that sales tax base that we need. And it needs to increase every year because the cost of doing business increases every year. So I'd like to cautiously have businesses come in, but it's a delicate balancing act. We don't want to sacrifice our neighborhoods in order to accomplish that. So we just need to be careful what we do and how we do it.
Brian Harn?
Really, the only way you can increase sales tax revenues is to have more people go to the businesses that you already have or add more businesses. We already have a pretty high tax rate in Peoria Heights, sales tax-wise. So Galena Road is a great place to start. We could get a bunch of businesses. If we could just get a few down there, that would really help. Develop a little more on War Memorial. Prospect, this is not done. This continues to grow, so there will be more sales tax revenue there. That's about all I have on that.
Beth?
Well, I think the answer is economic development, and we already have a lot of wonderful restaurants and shops in this area, but as Brian mentioned, there is development hopefully happening along Galena Road. We've applied for a grant to slow traffic on that road, so we will be able to hopefully have more businesses go in along that area. We do have a high sales tax, 8.75%, but I think that that's less than Peoria, so it's an incentive. It's incentivizing to have businesses come into this area. And we're very lucky that people come from all over the Peoria area to eat and shop in Peoria Heights. It's really remarkable that this is really the restaurant corridor. So I think promotion of that is very helpful.
Okay, Bob?
I think the biggest thing is you need to create a welcoming atmosphere for business to come into Peoria Heights. I got to admit, years ago when I moved my own business from Peoria Heights, I did it reluctantly, only because I couldn't find another place here. But the city of Peoria certainly was not welcome. It was the last thing I wanted to do was to move into Peoria. I think we need to have less regulation, fair fee costs to open and run a business here in town. Any advertising that we do as a community to help bring in extra business helps. Just to promote generally that we're a great community to come and visit and spend your money.
Are we allowed to add something, or is that not part of the rules?
I think we need to move on.
Sure.
Okay. Sarah?
I think to help increase our sales tax revenue, I think it would be good to continue working on developing the open space that we do have on War Memorial Drive. The concerts that Robbie puts on and things, like if we were to do like a Taste of Peoria Heights and things like that, I feel like those help add sales tax without putting more big businesses here. While I do feel like having the businesses to have the sales tax is important, I think there are some other ways that we could go about increasing sales tax revenue as well. Doing anything below the hill on the space that we have that's vacant, I think would greatly increase what we could expect in sales tax revenue every year.
Okay, Tessie?
Well, I agree with a lot of what's already been said. Obviously, with economic development, we are going to be increasing our revenue and bringing in more sales tax. I'd like to see a broader range of businesses brought in terms of, we have a lot of, nighttime businesses and attractions here, but it would be nice to have more things during the day. Also to bring in more offices and businesses that aren't necessarily retail businesses or restaurants, so we can kind of round out and be kind of a well-rounded business community here. I also agree that we have a reputation for being more business-friendly than Peoria, and I think that's really important that we continue that and make sure that we're very welcoming to new businesses that come to the village.
Okay. Brandon?
Tax income is critical. So I do support sensible economic development. But with sales tax, you increase your customer base, you increase the amount of sales tax you get. The elephant in the room is most of the Heights families that are enrolled in our school district, 60% of them are at or below the poverty line. They cannot afford to dine and shop in the Heights. So if we concentrated on more family-friendly and affordable development, we would grow our tax base by just having more customers. I think it was mentioned before, maybe by Brian, that McDonald's creates a lot of sales tax. Well, McDonald's is much cheaper than all of the upscale dining options you have in the Heights. So bring affordable dining and affordable venues to the Heights, and we will increase our tax base.
Okay. Considering the recent budget deficit, what are your suggestions for future budget? And we start with Brian.
Okay. Well, the main thing to do is just to continue watching the numbers really close. We have one guy doing the job of 3 right now. I don't know if that'll be able to go on forever. You just have to control your spending, and it's a delicate balance because we don't want to lose our services. We have such a high standard of services. We have just the right amount of police officers and public works and administrators, and our fire department jumps in there. And if you just we kind of operate on skeleton crews as it is. If you took one person out of the police department, one out of public works, one out of administration, you would see such a difference. Your roads would take longer to get plowed, you wouldn't have quite as quick of police service. So it is tough to keep a balanced budget, and you just have to watch it really close, because you don't want to start raising sales tax anymore, especially in our downtown districts, because they're already pretty high. You just have to watch the numbers really close, and you have to rein in your spending.
Okay. Beth?
I happened to sit through the budget meeting earlier this week and was really very impressed with Stephanie Turner's presentation on the budget. We have had a deficit, but we are now in a surplus. They project a surplus for this year. So the village is already taking the right steps to balance the budget. I think that they need to continue doing what they've been doing, and they've done it such a wonderful job that they haven't cut jobs. They've just been able to, mitigate spending in areas that needed to be mitigated. And as Brian mentioned, we have an amazing fire department. I think we have about 12 members in our volunteer fire department. I hope that I'm quoting that correctly. We have an amazing police department, and we don't want to cut any, we don't want to have that be a problem in the future. So I think we're doing a good job so far.
Bob?
I'm going to be a pain and ask you to reread the question again, please.
No problem. Considering the recent budget deficit, what are your suggestions for future budgets?
Well, not having been privy to all the information that's in the budget itself, I trust that the people on the current board have looked at everything as far as cuts and made whatever cuts that they felt they could make. Once again, I totally support the direction that the mayor is taking and that the current board is taking. I'm not looking to change much. I think they're on the right track. Obviously, you would look to try to increase your revenues. If you can't cut, the only other way you can do it is to increase your revenues, which we've talked about with bringing more business in, and so that's about all.
Okay. Sarah?
I would have to say I'm pretty well in agreement with Bob. I think the current administration has done an amazing job at taking our budget from where it was in the negative to a positive. I also sat through the meeting on Tuesday to hear Stephanie's presentation on the budget, and I feel like there's a lot of working parts that even I don't understand, but I'd love to learn more about. I'd like to just help balance, find that balance to continue to make things be successful. I don't really think that there's much more that we could cut, but I do think that increasing revenue would be how we would work on maintaining a positive budget.
Okay. Tessie?
Well, I'd just like to applaud the board and the mayor for turning around our budget deficit. I agree with what's been said here before, is there's, as far as keeping our budget in line, you have to focus on controlling spending and increasing our revenues. We've already talked a lot about that. And obviously, we enjoy a really high level of service for such a small village through our public works and the police and fire departments, so obviously we don't want to cut that. So I think it is probably a delicate balance. I would look forward to getting involved with that and making sure that it's very important for me that we also maintain a balanced budget from here on out, and so that we can find surpluses that we can use to upgrade our neighborhoods and our infrastructure.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think the importance is staying in budget and controlling spending. And when we make budgets, we plan for what we have, not what we could have in the future. And when you're funding public services, revenue is what's important. So I would work on, again, enticing affordable revenues at venues here in the Heights that attract a larger tax base.
Okay, Deb?
The budget that was presented to us earlier this week also predicted a surplus for this year as well. While we can't go wild and do a bunch of spending, it is a good indication that we are headed in the right direction. And I think that one of the things that we could do to aid ourselves in continuing in that right direction is to resurrect a finance committee, to watch that budget, meet with Stephanie, at a very minimum every couple of months or maybe every quarter, just to make sure that we're not getting off track. That's my suggestion.
Okay, next question. What do you think the biggest roadblock is for the growth of the village? And we start with Beth.
I don't know that there is a very large roadblock. I think that as I walk around and meet some of the residents of Peoria Heights, I think there's a little bit of fear, only because it's difficult to get the message out as, the change and as to what's happening right now in the Heights. I definitely believe that there needs to be development and change, because change is happening whether we like it or not in anything in life. I want to make sure that everybody feels represented in that. And I think that may be the biggest, maybe not roadblock, I would say, but probably challenge, in making sure that residents of the Heights who have been here for generations feel heard and included and honored as we have new development coming into the Heights.
Okay. Bob?
There's only one roadblock that I can see. We're landlocked. We have no room to grow physically. So we have to grow from within. And I think that the village has unlimited possibilities with what we can do. And with what we've been given in the recent past here with Mr. Blickenstaff coming in, these kind of things don't happen to a small community very often. We've just got an unbelievable future, and like I say, the only thing we're limited in is our size.
Okay. Sarah?
Can you reread the question, please?
What do you think the biggest roadblock is for the growth of the village?
I don't feel like there's significant roadblocks. I do think there are struggles along the way. I think making sure, like Beth said, that every voice is heard and we try to make decisions that are best for the community as a whole and not just one specific type of the community is going to be a challenge to overcome. I think making sure that people know the facts and not rumors or information spread on social media is also a huge issue that we have. We want our residents to be knowledgeable about what's happening, and so I think if the communication was higher, maybe we wouldn't have some of the struggles with that. Being landlocked is an issue, but I think we have so much possibility and opportunity with what we have that I guess I don't foresee the landlocked being a huge struggle for us.
Tessie?
I guess the thing that I see as the biggest roadblock for the growth of the village is really our lack of middle-income housing and our high rate of rental housing. Not that rental housing in of itself is bad. I think it's good to have a broad range of housing here, but we have a very high rate of rentals, and that's hard for our schools, the stability of our schools. There's a lot of mobility in and out of our school district, and so we need to find a way to encourage development of new mid-range housing, as well as improving our existing properties, because we need that housing. We can't really attract middle-class families here that will send their kids to the schools and help, spend their money in downtown Heights and everything unless we have those houses. So it's really important that we encourage that type of development, not just luxury developments, but also mid-range housing as well.
Okay. Brandon?
I think one of the greatest roadblocks is that we are landlocked. And as the development encroaches on neighborhoods, you do have a lot of fear and a lot of animosity to that change. I think it's important that despite being landlocked, that we look at attracting new businesses, but at the same time, let's not forget all the families that for generations have made investments in our community as well.
Okay. Deb?
I think our biggest roadblock has been Galena Road. The previous mayor had worked for a very long time with IDOT to try to get something started on Galena Road to widen it, get a turn lane, get the speed limit reduced, because as anybody knows who travels Galena Road, if you want to make a turn across traffic, you run the risk of somebody running in the rear end of you, and it's just a dangerous situation. So we are working now towards a plan for doing something about Galena Road, and I think that we are definitely on the right track. If we can get Galena Road slowed down and safer, then I think that maybe we can get a gas station, get a Casey's down there or something. But as it stands right now, it's not going to happen unless something happens to Galena Road. So I think that's very important that we have that on our radar.
Okay. Brian?
Okay. The secret to success in Peoria Heights has always been a business-friendly board. When businesses come here, it's easy to come in and talk to people. It's easy to do business here. If there was going to be a roadblock, it would be the board and the village itself to change and become difficult. I work in a lot of different communities, and I can't tell you how many places I've been in, and you go to get a permit somewhere, and people are like, it's like you're hitting a wall. It's almost like they don't want you there. And Peoria Heights isn't like that. We're easy. People come in, and it just moves along. So if there was ever a roadblock, then it would be from the board itself. Oh, not to mention we have a great zoning board also. You guys do a great job.
Okay. All right, next question. How do you feel committees like the Business Development District help businesses and the village? How do committees help businesses and the village? And we start with Bob.
You would do that to me when I'm first, and then I have time to think about it. How do they help? I guess just by giving a chance to air what problems these businesses or whatever are having. Depends on the committee, I guess. But just opening dialogue and letting people voice their concerns and putting people's ideas together.
Okay. Sarah?
I think the committee like the Business Development District does a lot for the village and for as a business owner. My business does lie inside the Business Development District, so for those of you that don't know, I do have a 1% added tax onto anything that we sell from my business, and that has been, it's not been an issue for us to have the 1%, but what it's offered back has been exceptional. My business has applied for or other businesses are allowed to apply for grants that you could use currently right now for facade, but also the Business Development Fund has a significant balance in it. With that, they're willing to do things like help the village for improvements. I know that there's been talk that Prospect will need to be repaved, and the Business Development District is willing to help the village to pay for that. So those funds can be used to help make our community look better as well. So committees like that, I think, are beneficial for both the residents and the businesses.
Okay. Tessie?
I think any sort of committee like that is a benefit to the Heights. I mean, we are a very small village. We have, with the mayor and the small administration we have, they can't do everything. So I think one thing that has been great with this mayor and this administration is they've been very open to new ideas. I mean, a lot of the stuff we've done on the zoning board, we've in the past, I know myself and some other people have aptly brought those up to other administrations, and they had no interest in making any changes or doing anything different. So I think as long as we have leadership that is open to new ideas, I think these types of committees are a great way to get things done that maybe on a daily basis our other boards and administration just don't have the time to do and the resources, because we are small and are working on a kind of a skeleton budget. So I think that they are very impactful as long as we are open to their ideas and them trying new things.
Okay. Brandon?
I think anytime you have a group of people who are sharing ideas and collaborating and focused on growth and the sharing of ideas, I think it's good for the village.
Okay. Deb?
So the BDD committee, if you notice the lights, the new lights down here on Prospect, they were directly involved in helping the village get those lights and pay for them out of BDD funds with the sharing from the village. So it keeps the businesses in that district engaged with the village so that we can share ideas and make sure that things that we're spending money on make sense for everybody.
Okay, Brian?
The committees in the village, again, it's all about when people first come in and they talk with the different committees trying to get something done. The committees have to be open, and we have a lot of different committees. We have the BDD, we have the zoning board, we used to have the planning board. The zoning board did bring something really interesting to the village board a while ago with their plan that the girls keep talking about, where as you're walking down Prospect, the buildings kind of line up. All future buildings will line up, and it makes it a nice flow. If buildings set way back or stick way far out, it kind of stops the natural flow down Prospect. So the committees have a huge role.
Okay. Beth?
I think the short answer to that would be vision. I think that these committees bring vision, and that committee that you're talking about specifically has truly provided that. I think Mayor Phelan has been incredibly proactive with a vision for the community, and they say that lightning doesn't strike twice, but it has here in Peoria Heights with the with Mr. Blickenstaff, and also the gift of Mr. and Mrs. Amsdale, I think I'm pronouncing their name correctly, which is the art that you see. And these are people that have something to give, and they're not going to give it to people without a vision. So they have, found us in Peoria Heights and actually been very receptive to what we have in mind for the future of our community.
Okay. Again, I'm going to combine two that just seem to fit together very well. The first one is, what made you decide to run, and what experiences or skills have prepared you to serve? So what has prepared you, and what made you decide to go ahead and run? And we start with Sarah.
I decided to run for a trustee position because I had some issues, and I approached Mayor Phelan with my issues. First of all, he responded to me in such a timely manner. I had a wonderful conversation with him. I had expressed that I really wanted to be a part of this community. He talked to me about some opportunities I had, and that's when I was appointed to the zoning board. my experience on the zoning board has taught me so much about our community as it is, as well as having my business here and being a resident here. Being more involved has helped me to understand how things work, and I think that's an asset to me. So putting myself in the community standpoint is really why I wanted to run. I feel like I need to give back, and I think I could be a great asset with my ideas and working great with other people, and knowing that maybe I don't know it all, and I have a lot I can learn from the people in our community and that are already sitting as a board on the Board of Trustees.
Okay, Tessie?
Well, I decided to run. One, like I said, I've already mentioned my previous experience on the zoning board. I've enjoyed that experience, and for me personally, this just happens to be a time in my life where my children are getting older and I have more time to put forth towards this. And with everything that's happening right now, I feel like I do have a vision for what the Heights could be. I've always seen its potential. That's one of the reasons why I decided to move back here. So I would like to be part of developing the vision and what the new development is going to be. As far as being prepared for it, I've actually worked kind of a ridiculous number of jobs in different places, all for small companies. I think the largest company I ever worked for was 20 people. And what happens when you're working for very small companies is you end up doing a lot of different things. You end up wearing a lot of different hats. I think I also do that as a mother and a homemaker as well. And so I think those have prepared me for, I have a lot of different skills. I also am not scared to jump in and try something new, learn about something, and to really try and make a difference. So I think I just have a lot of life experience that will help on this board, and also just a lot of desire to improve Peoria Heights.
Okay, Brandon?
Yep, so for the last 20 years, I've worked for a nonprofit, a local area nonprofit. And when you work for a nonprofit, you learn very quickly to do a lot with not a lot of money. So I spent all of my adult life serving others. Here locally in our community, I volunteer at the grade school in the school district. So I just wanted to give back to my community and bring some focus to family in our school district to the village board.
Okay, Deb?
I decided to run mainly because I wanted to give back to the community. My whole family always had, my grandfather was a police officer here in the village. My dad was a fireman and still is. My husband was a fireman. My brother was a police officer, all here in the village. So it was my turn, and I felt like I had something to offer, and my kids were gone, so I was an empty nester, and I felt like I could help. So, and I enjoy it, so I'd like to do it one more time.
Okay. Brian?
Well, 18 years ago, I was at an auction, and the then Mayor Earl Carter, he said, I have an appointment. He said, Bill Kelly cannot finish his term. Would you be interested in being on the board for 2 years? I said, sure. So after 2 years of being on the board, I found out I really liked doing it, and I ran for election, and here I am, 18 years later.
Okay. Beth?
I decided to run because I absolutely love the Heights. I love living here. I plan to live here for the rest of my life. I think that we are actually poised to be a boom town in Illinois, and we can represent and be an example to surrounding towns. It's a very unique time for the Heights. I think it's very exciting. And I want to make sure that with all the excitement, every person and every resident of the Heights is represented, and I would love to be that person to represent each individual. I think that my experience in the last 12 years developing Junction City has given me certainly a lot, an education, sometimes baptism by fire. And I've had a wonderful experience working with labor, working with neighbors, with my neighbors. We are a commercial development, but we have neighbors right across the street, and we've done that, I think, very well, successfully. And I'm just very excited about being a part of this, about what's coming.
Okay, Bob?
I've actually considered running for quite a number of years, but while I was self-employed, it just really wasn't the time. Now that I'm retired, I've decided I have time to devote back to the community. I bring 25 years' experience on the Planning Commission, 45 years in business. I think I know how to budget. I think I know that you don't spend what you don't have. And I'd just like to bring all that with me.
Okay. All right. Do you have the time to talk with citizens about their concerns, do research on the items that you vote on before the meetings? So these questions have to do with the amount of time and inclination that you have to devote to be serving on the council. We start with Tessie.
Yes, as I said, this is actually, my youngest child is just getting out of grade school this year. I spend a large portion of my time, my children have gone to St. Thomas and Peoria Heights, and so I have spent a great deal of time there volunteering in all different capacities and a lot of leadership capacities there. That's going to be coming to an end when he graduates, so that actually does give me a lot of time. And I know from the zoning board experience that it does take a lot of time, both answering questions and preparing before a meeting, and I do think that that's really important. I think that that's one thing that I do really want to be engaged and informed and make sure that I come to the meetings, not just to learn about things when I get there, but have already done my research so that I can contribute to the conversation and to the decision making.
Okay, Brandon?
Being organized and prepared for board meetings is important. Some of my ideas on staying engaged and properly representing the constituents in Peoria Heights is holding quarterly Meet the Constituents. Just giving those, a lot of our families work, both parents work, so it's really hard for them to meet board meetings. So some of my ideas include making it easier to get that information to our constituents, make sure that they're being properly represented on the board, responding to questions quickly, and making sure we have the time to dedicate to answering their questions.
Okay. Deb?
So we always get, Sarah is very computer savvy, and she always has the meetings agenda emailed to us on the Friday before we have a Tuesday meeting, so that we do have ample time to look at the documents and prepare for whatever is upcoming in the meeting. And Chief Sutton has made himself very accessible to us. If we have questions about something that's on the agenda we don't understand, we know that we're more than welcome to give him a call and find out just what's going on. So it takes a little time management, especially when you work full-time outside the home, but it's not undoable. So I feel like we all do a really good job of being prepared.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah, of course. I'm self-employed, so I'm really easy to get a hold of. I mean, you can call me, email me. You have to be accessible if you want to stay in business. So, yeah, I've answered, I don't know, hundreds of calls over the years, emails, someone wants to talk. Sometimes I don't always know the answer, but I know who to get you to so you can get the answer. And so, yeah, absolutely. I've always been accessible to the public, and I will continue to be so. Even if I'm not on the board, I'm accessible to the public.
Beth?
Well, like Tessie mentioned, I also have 3 children, and my youngest is graduating from 8th grade this year and going into high school. My 2 eldest have left the home. One is out of college and one is in college. So, yes, it's a great time. It's obviously something I thought about for me to be devoted to this. I feel very passionate about it. It's enjoyable to me. I love meeting my neighbors, so I'm always available to speak with anyone. And will continue to be. And I love learning more about my community. So absolutely, I think it's a really exciting opportunity.
Okay, Bob?
Very simple answer. Being recently retired, I not only have the time, my wife would dearly love.
Okay. All right, Sarah?
Ask sitting on the zoning board, as everyone's kind of mentioned, we've done a lot in the last year and a half that we've been on the board. That's taken a lot of preparation in our own personal time beforehand. We like to be prepared, and we always come with a lot of questions. So, you know, that takes time at home. So I feel like I'm already dedicating that. So if I were to be on the Board of Trustees, I would just continue to do that. I am a very passionate person, and I pretty much dive all the way in, no matter what I do. So I know that I would want to be educated and have all my facts straight before I would enter a meeting. I also am very easily accessible, being a business owner and an independent contractor of that business. You can ask my husband. My phone is never far away. I readily am available to answer any questions that our residents would have for us.
Okay. I'm thinking this probably will be the last question. How do you think all of the private investment in the Heights is affecting the community, and how do you propose to manage it? Okay, how do you think all of the private investment in the Heights is affecting the community, and how do you propose to manage it? And we start with Brandon.
So I think a lot of the private development has caused a lot of animosity, especially when it spills over into neighborhoods. How I would handle it, I would ensure that our residents are represented as we make decisions on the zoning board and on the Board of Trustees. Be careful to respect their property rights in the quiet neighborhoods that they've grown to love, without scaring off developers.
Okay, Deb?
I don't know that there's animosity so much as they are nervous about the change, and they're concerned about it, and they should be. And I would just say, please come to our board meetings and talk to us. Or if you can't come to a board meeting, call us on the phone and talk to us about what's going on, because we want to hear from the residents, and we want to know what you're thinking, and we certainly want you to love what we're doing here and the business opportunities that we have, because the Heights just can't live on property taxes. We can't. We have to have those sales dollars. And as has been mentioned, you know, we do have a lot of lower income families. So in order to keep their taxes low, we have to have these sales tax dollars in order to provide the services that the village needs.
Okay, Brian?
Well, Peoria Heights has been growing kind of steady. We've had a new building, we've get a couple of new businesses, everything's been going along at kind of a manageable pace. And when Kim came to town, Kim Blickenstaff, great guy, things kind of went into hyperdrive a little bit. So yeah, it's a little bit scary, it's a little bit intimidating, and I'm not sure exactly what the exact right answer is as to controlling it. It kind of has a life of its own right now. So you just kind of have to watch and pay attention to your people, and like we're getting pushback in a neighborhood over here over a restaurant. So we'll just have to kind of work with it and play it by ear and just see if we can keep managing this thing as we go into the future.
Okay, Beth?
I think that this private investment has actually been met with a lot of excitement. It certainly is a unique opportunity. I think that I've met Kim, Mr. Blickenstaff, a couple of times, and I take him at his word. He seems to be a very accommodating person. He certainly did his research on Peoria Heights. He wanted to work with the village because of our vision and because we are very easy to work with and open, and there's not a lot of bureaucracy. I think that, as other people have mentioned before, some of the residents get afraid whenever they feel that things are changing. So the way to handle that is communication, openness, transparency, and this village board is very transparent. You can come to any meeting, you can call anyone on zoning or on the current trustee board. So I think that really mitigates a lot of fear in people. And he personally seems to be very accommodating. If people have a suggestion or a request, he's very accommodating with that. So.
Okay, Bob?
Could I ask you to read the question one more time, please?
Yes. How do you think all of the private investment in the Heights is affecting the community, and how do you propose to manage it?
Oh, I mean, that's obviously going to have a strong effect on the community itself. People fear change. They don't like change, but when it all comes down afterwards, people love it. I had a conversation with a young gal that was running the hot dog shop down here one day, and her concern, in her words, was, I think it's just getting too ritzy up here. Well, I think she fears things being priced out of her range or whatever. I think people just need to step back and take a breath and look at what's really being proposed, and they'll realize that this is a positive thing for the Heights. We've not had this kind of opportunity ever, and I just think we've got nothing but good things happening here. Thank you.
Okay. Sarah?
I feel like the private investment has created some fear, but I also believe that it has created a lot of excitement. It's affecting this community because I feel like it's getting us talking more. Like, maybe if some of these things weren't happening, we all wouldn't be sitting here. I think this has been beneficial because the more people we have in our community that are involved in things like the zoning board or the board of trustees or any of these other committees that we already have in place, you're getting that many more people to have ideas and be involved in their community. That's the idea, right? To have this great community standpoint. How to manage this and manage the community. Communication is important to me, and I feel like we live in a digital age right now. I would say a lot of people in my age range are not going to come up here to see, what's happening on a bulletin board. So I know that Sarah has done a great job of making our website even better and to putting things out on social media. But we also have YouTube. So if you want to be involved and you can't make it to a board meeting, you can watch every board meeting on YouTube, and that's how I think we manage it.
Okay. Tessie?
Well, obviously the goal of economic development is to positively affect the Heights and all its residents by increasing sales taxes so we can balance our budget and still provide our services. I do think that there have been some people that have fear and confusion over some of the new developments. I was sitting in the audience during one of the board meetings with some women that, the proposed new restaurant over here on Kingman, they were very concerned about. They were neighbors. They hadn't heard anything. They didn't really have too many specific things they were concerned about, but really the biggest thing was that they had not been told about it till they found out about this meeting. So I think in terms of, managing how this affects the community is it was mentioned before, communication is really key, and transparency, encouraging the developers to go and talk to their neighbors, not just residential neighbors, but also commercial neighbors, to let people know what's happening so they don't find out about it secondhand, so they feel like they're part of the decision. Whenever people have a chance to become involved, it seems like it's always a better outcome. There's less confusion and questions in the end. So I guess that's one thing that I would encourage, is that whenever a development is happening, that you try and get all of the people that could be affected about it involved up front.
Okay, we're going to go now to closing statements, and each candidate gets 2 minutes to wrap up, say whatever it is you wish to say. You can go back to something that was spoken earlier. However you want to do it, you have 2 minutes, and we start with Deb Reichert.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's great to see community involvement and that everybody has an interest in what the different candidates have to say. I'd just like to say that I've done my best over the past 8 years, and I hope to be able to do it another 4 years, and I thank you for coming out.
Okay, Brian?
Okay, again, I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. If I am reelected, I will continue to be accessible to the public. I will keep working with the board and the administrators to keep the budget in check. We will keep the public works, police, fire department, and administration all doing the great job they do. I would like to see more development along Galena Road and War Memorial Drive, and I know Prospect's not done, of course. But the most important thing is to remember the people who live here and do the best we can for them, because they're the reason we're all up here in the first place.
Okay, Beth Kazam?
I also want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you this evening. I am very excited about what's happening in Peoria Heights, and I'm committed to development with integrity. I would love the opportunity to represent the residents of Peoria Heights. I definitely want to focus on schools and programming, and if I were to be elected to this position, I think that the schools are an integral part of living here in Peoria Heights, and I didn't mention that previously. I think that we can have a wonderful opportunity to be an example to surrounding communities in Illinois, and this is truly our time. So I would love to be a part of that and represent my neighbors in doing that.
Okay, Bob Travers?
I'd like to add my thanks to the Heights Chamber of Commerce and to the League of Women Voters for providing us the forum to be heard this evening. I want to emphasize that I'm not running against any of these people. We have a wealth of talent and qualifications here. The village can't lose in this election. I don't care. If you don't vote for me personally, it's no big deal. The main thing is get out and vote, participate in the process. And just the fact that you're here tonight shows that you're willing to participate. All I can say is that I would get out and do my best. I'd be open to hearing your concerns. I'll do my best to follow up on those. Once again, I thank you for coming this evening, and I appreciate your support.
Okay, Sarah DeVore?
I'd like to thank everybody for allowing me this opportunity to answer your questions and to be a part of this. I am very grateful to be a part of this community, and I just would like to continue with that. I would like to continue to show what I could bring to the community and be a part of the change that's happening. We have so many exciting things that are coming, but I also want to make sure that our residents are always heard and that they're not forgotten. This community was built on the residents that have lived here and raised their families here, and their families are now raising families here, and I want to make sure that that always remains the basis of our decision making. I will always be accessible to you, and I will always continue to put you first.
Okay, Tessie Buckler?
Well, my roots go back pretty far in Peoria Heights. My grandparents first bought their first house in Peoria Heights on Montclair Avenue in the 1920s. My parents actually raised my 7 siblings and myself in Peoria Heights, and 3 of us still live here. As I mentioned before, my husband and I moved back from Chicago to raise our family here, bought my childhood home, renovated it, and lived there for 13 years. We're now renovating our second home in Peoria Heights. So I am very invested in the Heights. I love Peoria Heights. I want it to be successful. I would love to have the opportunity to bring my excitement, my skills, and my work ethic to the Board of Trustees, and I hope you will give me that opportunity. Thank you.
Brandon Weisenberg?
If elected, I will do my best to respond to the concerns of all citizens in Peoria Heights. This is my first time running for public office, so I'm learning as I go. But I've lived here a long time. My children are enrolled in our public school, so I am invested in this community, from volunteering to helping my neighbors. I would really like an opportunity to be their voice on the village board. Thank you.
Okay. I just want, let's thank all of our candidates. All right. I feel sorry for all of you because I noticed it says you can only vote for 3 out of the 7. Good luck with that. The election itself is April 2nd, but early voting outside the city of Peoria has already started. So, and it was just in the paper, the locations. You can always vote at the Election Commission on Brandywine in Peoria. And then, like I said, I just saw, I think in today's paper, they had the list of the other locations and the dates where you can do early voting. You can vote by mail. And so the most important word, of course, is vote. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight and putting up with my sneezing and sniffling, and I will not shake anybody's hands. So thank you for coming, and have a great evening.
Good luck to all of you.
You too, Bob.